All right, so in this video, I'm going to cover the miners, including those that I hold in my portfolio. Before I start, I'll just look very quickly at gold and silver. So we closed above 2,000 for the week. Very bullish, generally speaking. The possibility of a retracement is there. I don't see it being bearish, even if we go down to retest the old descending breakout zone. So even if we go as low as 1980, maybe even touching the 70s is possible. So if you see what I mean here, we just go back down again, retest, that's still fine, go back up, little, further breakout, cup and handle. Silver, pretty similar. Silver is actually stronger than gold. That's also a bullish sign for the sector in general. I actually foresee no retracement in silver, at least nowhere near as much as gold. So even if gold was to retrace, I can imagine gold being down 0.5% and silver being green, just holding above this very important descending line that we've broken out of from on first attempt. We failed multiple times back here during January, but here you can see we broke out, held above, not just the descending, actually the highest point we got to here, the horizontal. So if we can keep going, holding around 25 and closing above 25, I think we'll just continue going up 26, 27. And if we start hitting this zone, I mean, gold by then will be 2,100, or at least testing its old historic high of 2,080. So for me, still very bullish. Downside, yes, obviously it's possible we go back down, test the descending, even come back down to the $23.5 zone. But I still think sort of the damage is done. Gold has proven itself with the rates going up, with rates going down, with inflation supposedly at all-time highs and going higher or even going lower. Just throughout all the different narratives, gold has remained very, very strong, best asset class in my opinion. So, and the miners have not proven themselves yet. I think they just want gold to sort of confirm that we're going to hold around 2,000, and then you'll see the miners, if I just look at them very quickly, basically start to match gold and silver, just like silver's caught up with gold and gold led the way. You got the central banks buying gold, they don't buy silver. But once gold has proven itself, silver catches up. And likewise, once silver and gold have proven themselves, the miners will catch up. So, and we've got a bit of that lately, the miners look more like silver than gold. So I'm going to cover more upside targets. If they go back down, great, because I really want to buy back. I want to actually buy juniors. I think juniors are nowhere near as overbought as the seniors. Well, nothing's overbought, but relative to the seniors, they're really, really underbought. So, I mean, for example, if I just look at gold versus silver, you can see how gold's gone down versus silver. So that's a nice bullish sign. I could have just done silver versus gold. It would have been the inverse. But let's do gold versus, no, actually let's do it the other way around. Let's do GDXJ, the miners versus gold. Okay, so you can see recently they started to catch up, but if we zoom out, look at this. This is obscene stuff, and let's look at the weekly chart. I don't need to, it's just the same thing, but just more absurd. And if I do some descending trend lines, I don't think many people are watching these, but once we start to see a breakout here, and you can see the similarity with the silver chart, let's say, but once you see a bit of a breakout here, I mean, the amount of a run you can expect will be wild. So there's so much potential in the miners. I mean, you could say they're cheaper now relative to gold than they ever were. I mean, obviously they've been cheap on a relative basis, but there's such potential. Look, gold's above 2,000. This train has not left the station. So with all that said, gold, silver, the miners, let's look at the miners just very quickly, the GDX. I do have these little support zones on the way down. So if we do have gold just all of a sudden retracing for whatever reason, there's a surprise peace in Ukraine brokered by China probably, or you have inflation, all of a sudden some fudged statistics suggesting that inflation has peaked, or the banking sector, everything's fine, nothing to see here, go home. Whatever the reason might be, or the dollar just surging because something's happened to a different banking system. There could be a rush to the dollar because of, I don't know, an EU banking crisis, a Japanese banking crisis, whatever. These things are possible. I think they'd be short term anyway. But let's say gold did get a slam down with silver, then you could see, you know, these support zones. That's what I've identified some time ago. I don't think they've changed. I think there'd be a lot of buying actually on the way down because, you know, me, for example, I'd sold into this move. I was lucky enough to buy into this move, including the very bottom here. But again, I sold into the move up, and now my miners are pretty light. I mean, they're between light and medium because they kept on going up. So now the value went up again. But let's just say if we go back down again, I don't see us going below this zone. I think it would just be a higher low. You know, it could be around, I don't know, let's just, again, I find this unrealistic, but it's obviously possible. I think this type of zone would be the low and be a higher low and then back up and then to new highs, higher low, higher high. But I don't think that's going to happen. It's just if it does happen. So I've got these support zones on the way up. Well, you can see, and for me, by the way, if gold does get to 2080 all-time high, that should equate to around here. An extra 5% move in the GDX. The GDXJ, same pattern, probably a little bit higher. Yeah, 7% makes sense. And again, you know, even once we're there, we're so cheap relative to where the metals are. I mean, they should be all the way up here. So again, even it's after going up 7%, they'd be a buy. Because if gold really is at 2080 or $2,100, you just buy the miners and just go on a long holiday, you know, and by then you should come back and see them much higher. So I think the point is the miners are a buy relative to gold and silver. Silver is still under-owned relative to gold. Everything looks bullish. Even a drop would be, I mean, for me, very enticing. I would definitely add to a drop pretty aggressively, more aggressively than my last entries on this drop. Although I'm very happy that I did sell in the end on this move up. Anyway, let's look at the actual miners and the portfolio. So I'm very happy with the miners I own. I think it's after several years. I did own some pretty bad miners. I think I got lucky a lot. I used to own MUX, Newmont Mining. I got out of that. Now that's had a nice run, but yeah, I got out before it actually went much lower, and I got to split my assets into split the money into different miners such as EXK, FSM, some other silver miners that have done very well, or at least gone down a lot less. And I just learned the benefit of dispersing money amongst different miners because you never know. And I got my seniors, I got my more medium tiers. I have a lot fewer juniors than I used to. I used to have a lot of juniors, and to be honest, I would still be massively underwater if I held them, despite the nice bounce they've had. But again, juniors have not bounced anywhere near as much as I would have expected. So I'm very happy that I wasn't in so many juniors. And I'm still going junior shopping. Actually, I'm looking around. I don't know that much about juniors as much as I used to. I don't follow all the little newsletters as much as I used to. But I think it's now time to maybe revisit that. But anyway, let me just start by looking at Newmont. So still my top holding, top senior holding, although I've trimmed that position quite a lot. So, you know, following GDX quite well, although actually you'd expect it to be a little higher. So it should actually be, it should have taken out its old high, but I think this is because of the Newcrest merger. But I think that news is behind us, and now there's quite a lot of upside to Newmont. So for me, on the way down, I don't know. I mean, I'll just leave these horizontal lines as where I think support will be on the way down. This one may be a little lower. But on the way up, yeah, the old high around this zone, let's call it 55. I think that's definitely a realistic target on any move higher. You know, gold starts to run towards its old high. You could expect Newmont there, but you know, zoom out, look where Newmont should be. You know, Newmont should really be testing its old highs in the 80s. So, you know, even trimming my position at 55, I'll do it, but not with some eager smile. I'll just do it out of general principle, but I won't be trimming that much, put it that way. So that's what I see for Newmont. Agnico-Eagle, that's more like it, a bit stronger. It's also retested already this descending breakout, long-term breakout. It's not the most credible breakout because it didn't really touch many times. It's just but still, you know, regardless of this descending, I think we're going to go higher, test the horizontal any day. We could even do it if gold goes sideways. So for me, Agnico-Eagle, a retest of 58 is imminent. and it's really probably the best mine route there for me. That's just the way I see it. Balance sheet wise, and just technically it's very strong, and even it tracks the GDX quite well normally. So I think, yeah, a 58 on Agnico-Eagle, and then upwards and onwards towards 66 if we have any follow through. If we have gold at 2,100, I mean, Agnico-Eagle should be just a ferocious buy out there, especially the institutional investors. This should be one of the go-to miners, you know, one of the top 3 in my opinion, or top 5 at least. So very nice, and recently very nice technicals. Barrick Gold, you know, stronger than Newmont's, looking more like the GDX than Newmont's. Very, very strong. One of the top 5s, definitely. I think, as you can see, we've already tested resistance here. So $20, a nice round number. Also, the old high. So, yeah, if we have any follow through, then 21. And then, to be honest, it's probably this descending, which is more credible than the one I looked at in Agnico-Eagle. And I don't see why this should not be all the way back up 30, which is a 50% increase from where we are now, by the way. You know, I mean, this is one of the senior top 3 stocks. This is as certain as it gets when it comes to predicting gold miners. So Barrick Gold plus 50%. For me, it's almost guaranteed if you have gold holding around $2,100 for sure. Wheaton Precious Metals, very, very, very strong. I think it's a royalty stock too. I should know that. I think it is. I've actually forgotten, but for me, it's been a hold throughout the years. Very, very strong. Doesn't surprise me that it held out very well defensively on the way down, and that it was one of the strongest ones on the way up. The only thing is, you know, I like holding these seniors as a defensive on the way down, but on the way up, look, just to test its old highs, the $58, it's a 16% increase. If I look at any other stock, let's just look at EXK, you know, to make 16% move, that's just here. That's very, very easy. So, you know, if silver starts to make the smallest move, EXK is up here in 2 days. So there's that aspect to it. I have to look at the lack of aggression on the upside of some of the seniors. And this applies also, okay, gold, Barrick Gold can do 50%. That's acceptable. But Wheaton, I mean, Wheaton wouldn't just get there. It would go higher, keep going, you know, go to 60 and keep moving. But it's sometimes I want that little extra aggression. And anyway, I mean, this would be a good stock to hold if all of a sudden everything goes pear-shaped and everything goes down. But I think the only negative aspect is the lack of upside percentage move. So it's just something I'm considering now. Now that I'm more certain that we're going up, I have to start looking at some of these big guys and think, maybe if I sell half of what I have in new and just deploy it across some of the aggressive seniors, aggressive silver stocks like Fortuna, Darlene, EXK, First Majestic, probably make more money. So otherwise, yeah, great technicals, 52, then 58, and then higher, 60 plus. Pan American Silver, this is a senior aggressive silver stock. This is a good one. I like this. I've always been a fan of Pan American Silver, maybe not jurisdictionally, but look at this, you know, nice strong close, highest close. I don't see why it can't keep going to 2150, which I identify as the next resistance if silver just holds where it is and continues even just a little bit. I think Pan American Silver is massively underpriced. So 2150, and after that, to be honest, 24, where we start to hit that descending, and then you expect some sideways move and ultimately going higher. So it's a good candidate for a dip buyer too. If we start to see silver, you know, break down for whatever reason, and Pan America starts to lose its ascending line that you just saw there, then, you know, start to buy the dip. I haven't actually drawn in the trend lines on the way down, but I think they'll be pretty easy. You know, $18, $16, simple stuff. So yeah, I'd welcome a dip, but I think definitely hasn't gone up as much as it should yet. Goldfields is obscene, very, very unique in its rise. Thankfully, I foresaw this. I mentioned it a lot in the videos. You know, for me, the first giveaway was it made new highs just as gold was touching its old highs. A lot of miners did not do this. So and it came back down again because the miners and the metals just came back down because of the markets in general, let's say. So I noticed, look, Goldfields, if the sector was doing strong, Goldfields would be at new highs. It just had to come down. Okay, then the technicals were damaged, and then it kept going lower. And then there were stories of Goldfields buying out Yamana, which didn't help. And then that story changed. It was, I think it was Pan American Silver and Agnico-Eagle that were making a better bid for Yamana. And all of a sudden, Goldfields, look at this. I owned it during this period. And I trimmed into it, sold into it. As we came back down, bought back, sold that. And then the sector went down. And then I bought aggressively. And now look what's happened. It's just gone up, up, up. And I've trimmed very lightly because I know that Goldfields should be all the way up here, were it not for the drop. But gold has gone all the way back up to 2000. And on top of that, they're no longer buying Yamana. So for two reasons, it should be here or higher. That's why I bought very aggressively here. And actually, I've trimmed very little. But I'm trimming now again because I think just relative to any of the other stocks, Barrick, Newmont, Agnico, I mean, compare that, Goldfields just crazy. So I think it will retrace because it has to. Nothing goes up in a straight line, but it's too much too quickly. And I think it's just, there are better buys out there now that it's done this great move. So I've made my money. You need to know when to sell, everyone can buy, but you need to know when to sell. So I've trimmed. I see it going back up to 17, no doubt about it. And I'll sell there, but I don't know whether I'll close my position here or maybe let it run to whatever it might be. Maybe I have to start drawing this type of a trend line, for example. And seeing if we get to 20 depends where we are on the time aspect. But I probably close my position because a bit like Wheaton, I just don't see enough of a percentage potential relative to other miners. If I look at First Majestic, imagine silver starts to run with gold at 2,100. Look at the potential. This is a serious stock. You'd have to hold Goldfields for 1 or 2 years to see this type of return. Wheaton for like 4 years. Whereas First Majestic could do it in 3 months. So that's what I'm looking at now a lot more than before because I didn't have to consider gold holding 2,000 before. So gold feels very, very good, but for that same reason, not a hold as much as I believed before. Okay, I'll delete these later. Mag Silver. Mag Silver is one that previously I really believed in. I think they had some dilution lately, so it hasn't gone up as much as I thought. Although on the very, very recent few days, it has started to outperform other miners. And I think that makes sense because it's a silver miner, it's a serious miner, and silver's doing something serious, so it needs to at least go up to 17 in my opinion. So I'm going to hold it a bit longer, but I'll start trimming a little bit more into these horizontal lines, definitely when we hit 17. Yeah, I think, it's a strong buy down here. But, will it get down there? You'd need gold and silver to come down pretty aggressively. And if that happens, I think a lot of miners are buys. So I'm holding Mag Silver. I'm not planning on aggressively buying if we drop. But I will start to sell a bit more aggressively if we hit 17. I keep calling Gran Colombia, it's Aris Mining. This one, I'm quite surprised it hasn't gone up as much as it should. Although I think we're getting to a more important zone here. You see this descending line, almost touched it, but I think that counts. So I feel like if we get to 350, between 350, 360, we've got serious resistance. Maybe I make this bigger. Not only the descending, but also the horizontal. But once we start breaking out of that, then we start to test greater numbers like 480 and then old highs. I don't want to zoom out too much because it gives the wrong impression. But this was a stock that was going bankrupt and just clawed its way out through good, sound financial balance sheet management. So I think this one, we should go up and test this zone if gold holds 2,000. And if we close above, let's say 360 at least, then we might be able to have a very aggressive run relative to other miners. So I'm holding this one, not selling, not buying. And if it drops, I won't buy. I might buy a tiny bit, but just what I've sold recently, but not willing to buy this one back as aggressively as before. Okay, Fortuna Silver. This is one of my sort of top 5 silver miners, although I think jurisdiction being Mexico is not my favorite area, especially what's happening lately with this aggressive talk about intervening in Mexico for the cartels, you know, and the Mexican government sort of slapping taxes, and it's not the best. So sometimes I think, I shouldn't be selling Fortuna, but then I think, yeah, it's Mexico, just take a little bit of profit. Yeah, I see this descending line. And basically, we need to close above 420. You know, once we have to close above 420, we should be testing this 450 to 460 zone. And this is not the most precise horizontal, you know, but you can see why I've got it there. Just this candlestick here, this one here, this one here. You just feel like we close 420, we go to visit 460, and then we can finally hit the 550 zone. So, but you know, Fortuna is one of the ones which really can rise a lot. I mean, you've got a plus 100% chance here, and this is when gold and silver was where they are now. I mean, silver was higher, but you know, gold was at 2000 when Fortuna was visiting the almost 10 zone. So I'm holding Fortuna. I've trimmed it already because I've trimmed the miners. I've trimmed it around this area. No need to sell. Definitely no need to buy. If we drop into the very low threes, I'll probably buy back what I've sold, the usual swing stuff. But again, I don't see much potential for a drop all the way down to here. I think the miners are being repriced higher than they were before, and I think they need to be bought up. So I don't see a big drop, but that's where I will be trimming on the way up. Turmalina. Yeah, I'm going to remove these steep ascending because I think, yes, we could breach the ascending line, but just come down a little bit, not as much as you'd expect. So I think it's gives away the wrong impression if we start to draw very, very steep ascending lines. You could end up selling your way out of a position when you shouldn't be. Turmalina for me, I mean, fantastic buy down here. I did buy this drop, thankfully. And now we've gone higher. This horizontal line, you can see why it makes sense. You know, call it 430-ish. I've already trimmed it, so, but CDE is always the one stock that ends up gaining the most for me. I just make so much money holding it. You know, imagine it's worth $4,000. By the time I look at it later, it's 6,000, and I'm just like, my God, how did it end up becoming so valuable? And I keep trimming it because when you have a retrace, it's always the one that loses a lot of money. It just goes up and down the most. So it's just the percentage moves are crazy because if I zoom out, look at this. We're still really at their lows. I mean, look at this. You know what I mean? This is 2011 high with gold at 1900. And then look where it was. Obviously, it's not as spectacular as before, but the percentage returns you can get is very, very impressive. Where are we now? We're at $4. Look, $8 is so easy. If you have silver just start to climb back to $30, you will have CDE at $8 or higher. And that's a 100% move, which can be done in 6 months. So that's why I always love CDE. It's been a great money maker. As long as you swing it. And what am I doing now? I've already sold what I have to. If it goes back down, yes, I will buy more aggressively than the other silver miners that I've covered so far. If it goes up to 550 zone, I'll trim a little bit. Make sure it just stays at that same sort of 4K value. I never want it to be worth more than that. Unless my portfolio really goes up in value, then it might be allowed to be worth, let's say, 5K minimum. But, sorry, maximum. But yeah, that's where I'm going to sell next. I've sold this zone. Once it starts to venture into this area, it's allowed to, and I'm not going to trim anything. It's really just going to be at 540. It always seems to get to the trend lines. Like sometimes I feel like selling early just in case it's not going to get there. It just always gets there. Even if the sector sort of goes sideways or down, CDE just always ends up going to where it should go. So yeah, CDE as a whole until we get to around 550, I'll probably sell at 539. EXK, very strong close. Finally, look at this 4.5% on Thursday, whereas everything else was kind of sideways flat. You can see where it is closing at this trend line, highest close in a while. Remember, silver did have a nice close. So now I expect EXK to continue. I've sold already EXK, so I didn't sell it on Thursday because I'd already sold it just around $4. So an extra 5% is not enough for me to sell. Now I think we're going to venture into the gap fill zone, 550, maybe close the gap and go a little higher, 540, 459. Or do I sell 439 or do I just hold? I don't know. I may sell the smallest amount at 439 just to play the gap fill, just to say been there, done that. But otherwise zoom out and keep the bigger picture in mind. It's I just feel like going up to 550, 570 is a bit too much for a junior. I do consider it a junior. So I might have to sell before. Otherwise, I don't know. It might be like I might sell small amounts like 439, 499, and 549 for an average price of whatever 520. You know, I might end up playing it that way. But anyway, very impressed with the close on Thursday. First Majestic, you know, had that horrible news, supposedly horrible news, where they closed down their Nevada, their American mine. But that was a very costly mine. It was just eating up a lot of expenditure. So it may have actually been good news, but the market considered it bad news. I remember it was a massive drop of 25%. I bought that drop. And then silver and gold started to run. So I kind of got lucky. But yeah, then I trimmed it. I mean, I had great fun. But I've trimmed it because we basically retraced the whole move since the bad news and actually gone higher. So it's like free money. Now I closed everything I bought, and now I'm holding what I held before the news. So whatever, let it ride. So let's see if silver goes up. First Majestic should have, you know, great leverage to the silver price. So I expect First Majestic to keep going, to not care about this huge gap fill it's done. I think it would just keep going. 850. There are quite a few resistance areas that I've drawn. You can see the massive descending one here. That will be the strongest one. It should be. Otherwise, the horizontal line is just generally where it's already hit its head. So if we go higher, that's gone. I think 840 is the next real resistance. After that, this descending doesn't really count. We've only hit these two areas. You know, it was one after the other and a long time ago and never again since. So you know what? I think it's noise. I think we hit 840, then will be the next $9 zone. You can see why 9, not just a number, but this several bars over here that failed to go above. And then and to be honest, imagine how it will look if we do start decline. Okay, we take out this zone here where we already are. We hit this, go back, and then we go for 9, but we're not only hitting 9, but we're hitting the long-term descending. So that should be resistance. But again, you know, if silver's going to 30, no one cares about this. Maybe you'll have a one-day drop and then boom. And to be honest, I don't think we'll stop around 950 or 10. I think we're going to be making a serious strategic move up to, you know, 14. Oh, I remember when it was 14. This sort of zone. I'll redraw it when we get there, and we will get there. So First Majestic, that's what I expect. I've already sold what I bought all the way down here. So bought the fear, sold the technical gap fill, and now just holding what I had before the drop. Discovery, this one I did sell just below 1. I also sold at this area here 90, and I didn't get to rebuy, so now I sold twice. I sold 90, I sold $1, and I was thankful that it dropped because that's what I thought, but I didn't buy this Thursday bounce, or rather I didn't buy the Wednesday drop. I did consider it. I saw it being bid at 89 cents. I thought, it's just dropped from $1 to 90 cents. That's over 10% of a drop. Maybe I should buy it back. Hesitated because I thought gold, silver, and the miners could retrace any moment. Then we'd really have Discovery back down here, which would be a super buy. But now we bounced, and I don't know, you know, I still think Discovery might be a buy right now, even though I could have bought it 4% lower. I think where silver is, Discovery Silver is a great stock. I mean, Discovery Silver will be at $2 or higher, quite simply. if silver starts to march towards $3. And then I zoom out and I think, oh my God, I was, arguing with myself between 90 cents and 94 cents, whereas it's now at $2. So Discovery, I'm actually considering buying back, even though it'll be pretty close to my last sell. That's how much I like the stock. Turmalina, Trillium, and Reyna. To be honest, I'm not going to cover them because they are juniors that haven't really moved enough. I mean, Turmalina, I think I bought back at 22 and after selling here, but I never bought back since. So it's good, but I've only got a very small amount in it because I'm considering buying other juniors to diversify amongst the juniors. Trillium, this one here, I bought back once since basically I was selling at 19 cents, but I didn't sell enough. I should have sold more. And then I bought back, I think it's 14, and then it just went all the way back down again. And I bought once 8 something cents around here, very small amount. It was my last buy. I said, that's it. It's the last time I buy this. At least it's reacted a little bit. You can see down 8%, but this is like a fake 8%. It's just because the close the day before on Wednesday was also abnormal. It's like a incorrect settlement close, but at least it's reacted to the metals going up. And I don't know how much this trend line really counts in a junior, which is so liquid. But what I'd really want to see is a move back up to 19, 20 cents. At which point, honestly, I will sell because psychologically, I'm one of those hurt investors where, if it goes back to even, because that's my average basically. If it gets back to even, I'm out. I won't sell all. I'll sell probably a third or half. And then if it drops, I'll buy that back, whatever I sold. But, it's a junior. It's a junior which just doesn't have news. And I don't know. I mean, some other juniors have really moved. This one, very little. So that's why I'm happy to never go too strong into any stock, especially a junior. So this one, I'm very disciplined. And I have my sort of maximum risk amounts. I never put more than 2K in, for example. Reyna Silver, this has been a good one actually in the last couple of months. Traded it very well. Bought it back here. I don't think there was any news except just the sector going down. At least it's come up a little bit, but I'd expect a bit of bigger move. If we go back here, you can see the zones. I will be selling those zones. Yeah, that's all I'll say. I mean, that's the miners. The juniors, I'm very, very disciplined and don't have that much in it, so I don't care too much. Then you got the medium silvers and you got the gold seniors, let's say. I'm also looking at some of the other stocks, and I'll probably cover some of the other miners in another video because I'm watching them too. But across the years, I've had a lot of different miners, and I've really kept the ones that I like. I've adopted ones that I've been watching all this time, and I've gotten rid of the ones that I didn't like. I used to own, for example, MUX. Where is MUX? Newmont Mining. This one, I used to own it all the way back in these periods where everything else was going up and it was just constantly going down. Now it's gone up, and I'm grateful for those that keep holding the stock. I'm very happy that they made some money back because it's really had difficult time. So it's gone from what, $3 to $9. That's pretty cool. But I think I got out even above where it was. This was diluted, no doubt. I think I was in around this area here. So, and another one was Goro. I owned basically MUX and Goro at one point, just those two. And I don't know how my account kept growing because when I look at those stocks now, they've just gone down, So never put all your eggs in 1, 2, or 3 baskets. Put them in 10 to 20, I would say, when it comes to the mining sector. Okay, that'll do. It's a long video. I hope that was useful. Let me know if you want me to cover any other particular gold or silver stocks. And let me know if you know some good juniors. I might end up buying them.